Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I appreciate it. I also love it if you'd leave a comment. Oh, I wanted to thank all of the people who've downloaded my book. I really appreciate it. It seems to be selling well, and people seem to enjoy it, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So if you've seen some of my videos before, you notice I like to visit different art periods. One of the art periods I've never visited is Cubism, and so today I'm going to do something that's a little bit Cubist looking. And another feature for this one is we actually used an AI program to kind of come up with a Cubist looking human face. And so it's kind of fun to play with that and see what comes out of it. So I sketched this up based on the computer generated face. I figured we might as well have some fun with AI before it decides to destroy us all. So, before we get started though, I wanted to thank some groups of people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and I really appreciate not only the financial help that they give me, but also the really nice community that they've built over there. It's great, and there's a lot of really nice, talented people over there. So thanks for that, you guys. The other group is my YouTube subscribers. We just passed 11,900. We're almost at 12,000, which is amazing. So thanks for that. Thank you for all of the financial contributions as well, like the super thanks and the buy me a coffees. Those really help a lot with the rising cost of materials. So thanks for that. Let's get started on this Cubist piece. This is one of my design idea books. You can find them on my merch store. We just put one up with a different cover, and it actually has a conversion chart on it that's really handy. So if you're interested in that, visit my merch store. I find that if I sketch up a design in advance, I come up with a little bit better outcome usually. So, so I think if you look at this drawing that I drew up, it's very Cubist looking. And here's what I think I'm going to do. The outer border is going to be 18 gauge wire wrapped around it several times and then overlapped to give it some three-dimensionality. And I'll probably solder that together in a few places to keep it kind of all one unit. The eyes, of course, will probably be little silver balls. A lot of this stuff in here is going to be square wire that I flatten in my rolling mill. I'm probably going to use some half-round wire to make the lips out of. And then I'm going to do a little sandwich bail up here. I'll probably use 16 gauge flattened wire for a lot of this stuff, maybe some 14 gauge flattened wire. The sheet I'm going to use some 22 gauge sheet. This portion right here is sheet. This forehead portion is sheet, and it's got a little wire going across it. And this down here is sheet as well. Okay, so I think to start with, I'm going to make the border out of some 18 gauge wire, so that'll be our starting point. So let's get started on that. I think it's probably got to go around at least 3 times, but we'll see. We're going to start about right there. I'm going to just kind of manually shape this, I think. This is kind of a fun experiment. It's not like a lot of the stuff that I normally do. I usually do pretty like either really clean cut looking things with clean lines and geometric shapes a lot of times. And other times I do some filigree-ish, kind of ornate looking stuff. One of these kind of dips up high here, so I'm going to try and get one of these to be kind of a chin that sticks forward a little bit. I think that's probably, I'm going to cut it off a little bit. I think 3 wraps is about good for this one. It's been kind of fun doing this, these videos where I'm kind of visiting an art period. That looks pretty good like that as far as the chin goes. I think I might use use this ceramic, perforated ceramic pad that I got from Pepe Tools. It allows you to stick some pins in there, which is kind of nice. You want to kind of control how something sits. At least theoretically, I think it will. To start with, I'm gonna try and get. I think I'll try and get this soldered right here, and maybe get those two soldered together over there, so it kind of stops moving so much. And I have a little bit of solder up here, so I'm just going to flux it, and then we'll heat that up. If you've never seen pick soldering, it's one of the things that I do a lot of, and it allows you to pick up a little bit of solder on the end of this by melting it on there, and then heat the piece up to soldering temperature, and then touch it where you want it to go, and it should just jump on there if you have the temperature right. So it's one of those techniques that really amped up my silversmithing skills. Okay, so let's put a little flux on here. And if I heat this a little bit, it'll kind of flatten out too, just because it's going to anneal a bit. Which looks pretty good. Let's solder it in a couple of places. So I just pick that ball up like that. You gotta heat the entire piece though to make sure that it all gets up to temperature. The biggest mistake people make when pick soldering is they get impatient like I did just now and jump in there too soon. Now that it's got some of it held in place, it'll be a little bit easier to keep things where you want them to be, and I'll gradually solder it together piecemeal, sort of. I want some of it to be underneath, parts of it, so that it gives it kind of a three-dimensionality. Made it a little bit longer, but that's all right. So I think I'm gonna, various spots around here, throw a little solder in there. So let's flux that. So I think we should make the nose first, maybe, and make the eyebrows and the nose all one piece. I think. Let's see what I got as far as this is some 16 gauge that's flattened a little bit. I think I want to flatten it a little bit more. So let's go over to the rolling mill and flatten that out just a skosh more. Here's my beautiful new rolling mill from Pepe Tools. Just a little bit thinner. I think that's about right, probably. Okay, so I'm gonna use a marker here to kind of help me to gauge where to bend things. Actually, let's get this kind of flat first, in this dimension anyway. It's a little bit work hardened from rolling it through the rolling mill, but I'm going to leave it a little stiff like that, because if you want natural kind of curves, sometimes a little bit springier metal will help me to not just kind of allow the metal to kind of shape itself when you use a little bit of distance in the leverage, like that. You don't have to make that particular sound effect that I just made, though. All right, so this is going to go here. It's going to start bending there, kind of there, and head that way. I just accidentally filed my microphone. Can't afford a new one of those. Okay, so if I bend it right about here, and if I want it to be a sharp bend, I may just cut it off, solder a piece like that, and then make this other side a separate piece. I think that's probably the best way to get a nice sharp angle there. Plus, then I can extend it over this way to where it touches that sheet. So I want this eye to be a little bit lower than the other one, so it looks more cubist. In Cubism, everything's kind of like compartmentalized. I may move his forehead down a little bit, since I made this slightly bigger than I had intended to, so that his face isn't too stretched out. I moved it down just a little bit because I wanted that, like I said, I wanted this one to be a little bit lower than that one. I'm marking where I'm going to solder those to the sides. But before we do that, let's solder the bottom of his nose on this way. So let's file that. I'll throw just a skosh more around here. Make sure I have a good connection. Alright, let's get that fluxed and then we'll solder it. So it's kind of underneath there, so I'm going to have to tip this in a different direction so I can get under there better. The more mass we add to this, the longer it's going to take to get the entire thing up to the 1450 degrees that hard silver solder melts at. There we go. That's on there okay. Let's see, what should we do next? Let's do, so his nose has got a little projection, a little line across there, and then it goes down a little bit further. And then we can attach the lips to it. So let's put that on there next. So I need to make kind of a little cross, I guess. If I was smarter, I would have made this longer and curved it a little bit so I could set it up right without having it tip over much. You can use your miter vise jig if you have one of those for stuff like this. Attach right there. Kind of like that, I think. Let's do that. Making an arbitrary decision. Okay. I think it's time to do the eyes. And let's see. Let me think about this. Let's make the little balls for the eyeballs first. To do that, I'm going to use my charcoal block, because when you melt silver on a charcoal block, it creates a nicer ball than some surfaces. So let me find some scrap. It's Cubism. I should probably make the eyeballs slightly different size. That might be kind of fun. All right. I do think I'm going to use the same stuff for the actual eye shape, as long as I have enough left. I think I do. It's probably going to be easier to bend it while it's part of this, and then snip off pieces. Gives you a little more leverage to work with if you leave it attached to a longer piece. This I might use my miter vise jig for. Okay, I'll work on making another eye. I'll be right back. So I think it's time to start adding some of the sheet pieces that are going to go in here. And then the last thing probably will be putting the lips in there. And we have a little bit of sheet down here. The biggest piece is right here. And so I think, let's start with that one. And I think we can kind of, let's do this. This is 22 gauge sheet. And maybe kind of come up with the shape that we want. If I look at this, it goes here. So let's start by tracing this curve here. But we might as well trace out these other pieces too. So I need a forehead. So I could get the forehead right there. Doesn't have to be very tall. I'm going to dome these just slightly. Too far over. If you notice, it kind of is slightly tapered, so you just kind of go. Okay, so we've got 3 shapes to cut out. So let's go do that. I'm using I think it's a 00. Oh no, I think this is a 0 actually. Last I used. That'll work. Okay, we'll finish these up over at the regular spot. So I cut it out the rest of the way for this face piece right here, and I actually used my dapping bench and I domed it slightly, and I got pretty lucky. It actually fits really nicely in there. So it's got a little bit of a curve to it to give it a little 3-dimensionality, and I think I'm going to solder that one in. Oops, I got this upside down. Okay, kind of like that. Now I need this to be domed pretty well, so let's see if we can get it a little more domey than the other piece. So I'm trying to cup it a little bit, and then I'm going to bend it back. Hopefully it'll maintain some of that curve that I created, because right now it's probably too narrow to fit in there. Yeah. So let's bend it back. So this may be a situation where we use the magnesia block, I think. Let's try it like that. Let's see if we can't get that to sit how we'd like. I have some solder right there still, so let's. So we need to put this in here. And just dome that just a tiny bit. I think I domed it the wrong way. Oops. Let's try that again. I think about like that. So let's solder that on, and then we can make some lips out of. I think I'm going to use, if I can find some 12 gauge half round, and I'll just kind of shape it. Okay, I think it's time to make some lips. Some 8 gauge. It gives me a little bit more to work with. So let's see if we can kind of scribe out the lip that we want. Okay, I'm going to use just to snip off some of it. And then I think I'm just going to use an abrasive white wheel, which is the coarsest type of silicone abrasive wheel. And I'm just going to carve that into some lip shape. So I'll be right back. That's going to be hard to show, but I'm going to use a knife edge white polishing wheel, which is the coarsest kind. So it'll pretty quickly remove that stuff. I'm going to leave it attached to this piece while I do it, because it gives me more to hold on to while I'm sculpting it, kind of. So I'll be right back. So you can see I just kind of took one of those abrasive wheels and I kind of followed those lines and tried to make it three-dimensional. So it looks like some lips there. I'll cut that off, and then we can always decide how big it needs to be. In fact, let's pull that out of the pickle for the moment. See how it looks. This needs just a little bit of fine-tuning, and then I'll go ahead and make the second piece. So we'll put a little bail like that at the top, and I need a ring to solder on there. This is one of those sandwich bails like I was talking about. See, it's got a top and a bottom. The chain can go through the top, and this ring will go through the bottom down here. Okay. Whenever you're soldering something big to something small, most of the mass is in the bigger piece, so it takes a little while to get that one up to temperature compared to the little ring in this case. I'm only going to apply the heat up there at the last minute. So. So since I don't really want any solder joints flowing over here, I'm not going to heat the bail at all. I'm just going to heat this piece, and then at the last minute I'm going to pick a little solder on that ring, theoretically, and we'll be done. You just have to pickle it and then polish it. Okay, got it all kind of cleaned up. It's a little bit bigger than I had anticipated, but that's all right. Pretty close to what I was doing. I did kind of take it and I pushed it outwards a little bit from the back to give it just a little bit of a outward curve, but overall I'm pleased with it. I think it's kind of fun. So just got a fingerprint on it. So I'll get some better pictures and put them at the end. All right, well that was the cubist face that we used a little computer-generated help to come up with a design for. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button before you leave, and take a moment and peruse some of my other content. I have well over 300 videos. There's a lot of different content for various skill levels, and I think you're sure to find something that you like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And check out the video description down below for some important links. There's a link to my that ebook that I was telling you about, if you want to get a copy of that, guide to my 2023 YouTube videos. It's a great guide. It's got the original sketch I made for each of the videos, the final picture of the product that I produced. It's got a list of materials you need to make it. It's got a difficulty rating, and it's got some notes that I put about it, as well as a link right to the video. So there's a whole bunch of video links in there, and it puts a lot of fun projects right at your fingertips, so check it out. There's a few other links in that video description that you should be aware of. There's one for my safety video, because safety is paramount, and you should always use caution when doing stuff like this. My merch store, if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea books that I showed you, or some other Chad branded merch. There's a link to my website, which is currently under kind of reconfiguration. There's a link to Pepe Tools, to which I am now an affiliate, and they have some great tools over there, lots of really quality stuff, particularly rolling mills. I have one of their rolling mills, and I love it. It's great, so you should check those out. Those are worth looking into. And finally, there's a link to my Patreon if you want to see what that's all about and find out about that community over there. So. Thanks again for watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.